Welcome, my elegant fellowship. I'm thrilled to have you on this journey with me. This podcast is all about exploring the timeless principles of elegant personal development. And I am Fernanda, your elegant host, guiding you through it all on the Elegantia Linea podcast. Before we dive in, a quick disclaimer. I'm not a psychologist or a certified coach. What I am is a mentor, someone passionate about helping you explore and harness the power of your autonomy through self-awareness. The truth is that personal development isn't always linear. In fact, it's often messy and unpredictable. And that's why I'm here, to help you bring structure to the chaos so you don't feel overwhelmed by the uncertainty. My mission is to help you construct a life that feels purposeful and fulfilling, giving you clarity, direction, and the tools to unlock your full potential. My expertise in process improvement has equipped me with practical, actionable tools that I have adapted to personal development. I will be sharing these tools throughout this series, from episode 2 to episode 6. Drawing on my experience as a trainer, my work in process documentation and standardization, years of studying psychology, and my own journey through therapy, I have developed strategies that have helped me cultivate a strong sense of self. No matter what life throws my way, I know I can navigate it with elegance and resilience, and I want to help you feel the same. Supporting others in this way inspires me and connects me to my own purpose, which is why I'm excited to embark on this journey with you. Today's episode is called, What's the Problem? The First Step to Unlocking Your Full Potential. Sometimes it feels like something is not quite right in our lives. Maybe you're not where you want to be, whether it's in your career, relationships, or your sense of purpose. Perhaps you're feeling frustrated, dissatisfied, or like you're just not moving forward in any way. These feelings might seem negative, but they're important. They're telling you that something in your life isn't aligned with who you are or the life you want to lead. But here's the thing. If you don't acknowledge the problem, nothing will change. Sitting with frustration and waiting for it to just go away won't help. True change only begins when we confront the issue and face it head on. Sometimes we end up in a state of fine. We do what we've always done, it feels okay, we go through the motions. But ask yourself, is fine really enough? Don't you want more out of life? If you do, that desire for something greater, something more aligned with your true self, is a clear signal that you're ready for something more. That curiosity to dig deeper is where the real journey begins. Recognizing these frustrations is the first step toward personal development. They point to deeper issues that deserve our attention. Without acknowledging that there's a problem, change is nearly impossible. It takes being open to the idea that there are areas in your life that need improvement. Change, after all, requires a willingness to evolve. When you fear change, you paralyze. More importantly, when you feel incapable of changing, you admit to yourself life is a burden you should carry, when in reality it isn't. There were so many times that my pain blinded me from seeing a silver lining. And believe me, my history of trauma is long, but giving up is never an option. Every day, I'm thankful to have chosen to live a life where overcoming obstacles granted me the gift of resilience and motivation to move forward. Because there is nothing more inspiring than your own history unfolding a truly remarkable journey where you can be proud of and grateful for. This is where self-awareness comes into play. Self-awareness isn't just about understanding what's wrong. It's about taking full responsibility for where you are right now. It's about recognizing the things that may be holding you back, understanding them, and then making the choice to take action. The first step in creating real change is taking ownership of what isn't working and committing to do something about it. There is a no joke that goes like this. How many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? The punchline is just one, but the light bulb has to want to change. Whether you're facing a major transformation or just making small tweaks to your mentality, I'm here to guide you through it. Together, we will uncover what's getting in the way of you living a sophisticated life and making choices that truly reflect who you are. But I won't sugarcoat it. This road to self-awareness is difficult. Working on yourself takes effort, and the process can be uncomfortable at times. It is actually ridiculously painful. And I'm sorry to step on your toes so early on this journey, but I promise you, the rewards are well worth it. Better to be painful now than to be painful always. So one of the most powerful things you can do is admit when you need help. There might be thoughts, feelings, or truths buried deep down that you're reluctant to face or share with others. We often get so stuck in our own narratives that we start believing them, even when they're not true. We tell ourselves and others a version of the story that's easier to accept, but not necessarily the reality. It's possible that you're knowingly or unknowingly sabotaging your own growth. And that's okay. It's part of the process. But the first step to moving forward is identifying the problem. Only then can we make truly meaningful, lasting change. To help you get started, let's begin with an exercise. When everything feels messy and chaotic, when you're in the eye of the hurricane, it's so important to stop and breathe. I often say that overthinking and overanalyzing aren't always bad. In fact, they can be critical tools, especially in situations where you need to understand the next steps or evaluate possible outcomes, like when you're playing chess. It can be a strategic approach. The ability to analyze, anticipate, and make strategic decisions is incredibly useful, but the problem arises when overthinking paralyzes us. When the pain becomes ongoing, when the thoughts spiral and keep coming back to the same issues over and over and over, that's when it becomes a problem. That's when the cycle of overanalyzing starts to hinder rather than help. Whatever it is that you're feeling, the misery, the sadness, the anger, whatever it is that's frustrating you or preventing you from taking the next step, that's your signal. Whatever paralyzes you is the problem. We're not going to dive into root causes just yet. First, we need to admit there's a problem and recognize it. From there, we need to find a way to organize the chaos. One powerful tool is therapeutic writing, which helps us unlock so much from our hearts and minds. Whether you prefer to write it on a laptop, phone, tablet, or pen and a paper, grab whatever you need and just start writing. Write whatever comes to mind. Don't filter it, don't overthink it. This is what I call the flow of thoughts. I started doing it as an exercise in therapy when my anxiety would consume me. The flow of thoughts is about writing exactly what you're thinking word by word without worrying about punctuation, grammar, or whether it looks beautiful or sounds beautiful. The key is to let it all go. When you finish writing, you will likely notice a sense of relief. Your head won't feel as cluttered anymore. You've taken the thoughts of your mind and put them onto paper, and that act alone often helps resolve the burden. But this is just the first step. To allow yourself some clarity so you can move forward with more intention. This next technique is a powerful way to help your mind flow in a more organized, respectful way. You don't need to show this writing to anyone. It's only for you. In fact, I wouldn't recommend going back and revising it. When you do, you risk falling back into the same spiral of thoughts. For some, reviewing what they've written might provide some clarity, but if you're feeling truly lost, I suggest you focus on releasing your thoughts first. Later, you can consider whether to revisit them. Right now, the goal isn't to analyze what's wrong or right, but simply to allow your mind to flow freely. To continue the exercise, I want to ask you a few questions. In a blank page, write them down and think about your answers honestly. There's no room for filtering here. You need to be completely truthful with yourself. This is meant to connect you with the clarity that follows after you've released your thoughts. And remember, you don't need to rush through these questions. If you need more time to reflect or write down your answers, feel free to pause the audio at any point or simply take a moment to think before moving forward. So, these are the 3 questions. How do you know that there is a problem? Often we think a problem is a problem simply because someone said it is. Sometimes we don't even allow ourselves to acknowledge that there is a problem, or we might not even see it. So, how can you be sure that whatever is making your mind spiral is actually a problem and not just your mind creating one? One indication is if it paralyzes you, preventing you from moving forward in any part of your life. This doesn't necessarily have to be about romantic relationships. It could be any area where you feel stuck. But this alone is not enough. Perhaps it's a problem that frustrates you, draining you of energy. Frustration is often a sign that something is worth examining. For example, if you're feeling excessively tired despite sleeping well or eating properly, it could be a signal that something deeper needs your attention. Essentially, any disruption in your life could point to an underlying problem that deserves to be recognized. But you need to know if it is based on a real situation or one that you are feeding in your mind. Second question, what does the problem look like from your perspective? We often perceive problems as being enormous, overwhelming, and insurmountable. We give them so much weight, and sometimes we believe they're so much worse than anything anyone has ever gone through. And as you gain clarity and start healing, you realize that while life's challenges don't diminish in significance, they don't have the same power over you. What does the problem look like from your perspective right now? Is it truly as big as it seems? Or is it possible that the way you've placed on it is influenced by your perception? Perhaps it is time to reconsider the way you're looking at the problem and see it from a different angle. In any case, it is not for you or anyone else to judge it, just to understand it. Third question is, what problem are you really trying to solve? This question is all about prioritizing. When you're in the eye of the hurricane, everything feels like a problem. And it's oh so overwhelming. Once you've used therapeutic writing to release some of the mental clutter, it's time to focus. Now you can ask yourself, what problem am I really trying to solve? Perhaps you've uncovered several issues during this exercise. Write them all down. If one problem is, I've been having trouble sleeping lately, or my relationship with my parents feels strained, write it down. Again, don't judge the problem, just name it. If you prefer, summarize it in a sentence or elaborate with a full paragraph. The important thing is to acknowledge what the issue is, because now we can begin to think clearly about what needs solving. These are just the first steps. The therapeutic writing technique helps ease your mind, and then these questions help you organize and identify what really matters. By taking this time to reflect, you will begin to make sense of the chaos and approach your challenges with more clarity and purpose. A few years ago, I was in my early 20s, around 22 or 23, and I had just moved to the Czech Republic to study. It was a fresh start, but the mental health struggles I had been dealing with followed me. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and depression. Issues I had been working through for a year back then. It was 2018, and I had stopped therapy because my therapist was in Brazil, and at the time we couldn't continue online sessions. It wasn't as common as it is now. I also hadn't found a new psychiatrist yet, and without professional help, I felt alone and overwhelmed by the weight of everything. Moving to a new country wasn't easy, but it was a decision I don't regret. Though I quickly realized that no change in the environment was going to erase the internal struggles I was facing. It solved some problems, I won't lie, but not all. Now, using this exercise, let me give you an example. How did I know there was a problem? I knew there was a problem because of a repeating pattern in my behavior. I kept meeting people and I felt an insane need to share everything, my struggles, my past, and all my pain. trauma dumping all the way, hoping they would understand and help me. I really put myself in a role of victim, but didn't realize it. I wanted to be seen, but these people were my friends, even though some were friendly. But looking back, I can see they weren't the right people to share these personal things with. At the time, I thought that by opening up, I would feel heard and validated. But I didn't fully understand why I kept doing it. I just felt this compulsion to overshare, and the next day, I would replay everything in my mind, obsessing over what I said and to whom. It was frustrating to realize that I didn't know what I was actually looking for, but I knew something wasn't right. What did the problem look like from my perspective? From my perspective, the problem felt huge. I was stuck in a constant loop of oversharing, followed by deep regret. I'd wake up the next day feeling what I called a moral hangover, a crushing sense of shame for sharing too much. I would think, why did I say that? Why did I trust these people? Why do I keep doing this? It wasn't just about talking too much. It was about seeking something I didn't know how to get. I didn't know how to ask for the right kind of help or support. And I didn't have the right people around me to guide me through it. Back then, I was trying to be too independent and self-sufficient to discuss any of it with my family or my real friends. To be honest, the emotional hangover from oversharing with strangers was just a symptom of a deeper issue, one I hadn't fully realized at the time. What problem was I really trying to solve then? The problem I was really trying to solve wasn't just about oversharing. That was surface level. It was about the deep sense of emptiness and isolation I felt inside. I thought moving to a new country would make everything better, but I still had the same unresolved issues. I was looking for someone to understand my pain, but I didn't know how to reach out for help in a healthy way. The problem wasn't the move or the new environment. It was that I hadn't fully processed my past pain. The more I overshared, the more it felt like I was trying to fill an emptiness that could only be properly addressed with continued professional help. At the time, one of the things I needed most was to find a new therapist and psychiatrist. These weren't the final solutions, but they were one crucial step toward healing. So I want you to know that this is just the beginning of the journey. It's okay if things feel messy or if you don't have the answers right away. You don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to have everything figured out. The fact that you're willing to explore what's been holding you back is a huge step forward. Yes, this journey requires effort, and there will be moments when it feels like things are really falling apart rather than coming together. You'll make mistakes, you'll stumble, and sometimes it might even feel like you're taking 2 or 10 steps back. But that's completely okay. Growth isn't about being flawless. It's about moving forward, no matter how small the steps may seem. When we start naming the problems, when we begin to really see them for what they are, we're taking away their power to control us. They're no longer these monstrous, overwhelming obstacles. They become things we can understand, face, and work through. You're not alone in this. And you're not failing if the path isn't linear. So take a deep breath. It's all right not to have it all figured out right now. The fact that you're asking yourself these questions, acknowledging where things might not be working, is the very first step towards transformation. Embrace the uncertainty. Trust that you're exactly where you need to be. And remember, this is a process. You don't have to rush it, even if life tries to rush you. We do what we can with the tools that we have. Then we learn new tools and do better. You're doing great, and we're in this together. Thank you, my elegant fellowship, for listening today. If this episode resonated with you, you should follow me on Instagram. You'll find a link in the podcast description. There, I'll share additional resources, visual guides, and tools to help you along your journey. I'd love to hear your insights and reflections and discover how I'm contributing to your life. On the next episode, we will discuss a little more about what methods to use to solve a problem. What does the make mean? And then dive into its second phase, which is to measure the problem. So grab my hand and let's continue this journey together, and we will explore the path to unlocking your full potential. See you next time and stay aligned. This is Elegantia and Linea, the podcast to help you unlock your full potential.